Hello, and welcome to the Break Free Find Joy podcast. I am your host, Brandy Sickles, and I really look forward to learning alongside you. This is a podcast where we're going to learn how to show up for ourselves so we can show up for our lives and really make every day count. I'll see you in there. Welcome. If you listened to the first episode, thank you so much. And if you're just joining us, welcome. I'm excited to hop in here again and just talk to everyone. Thank you so much for all of the support. Just starting out, I'm so thankful to have friends and family just to help me along with this journey. I'm still working out a lot of things with my microphone and my computer and things that I thought that I had figured out that I didn't. So it's a really fun and humbling journey, and it's really hard to control that negative self-talk. So that's kind of what I want to talk about today. So this week, I'm actually recording this on Tuesday when I wanted to release it on Tuesday. I'm still probably going to release it later tonight. So if it sounds a bit rushed, you are absolutely correct. But we had a lot of things happen this week. My daughter is teething, so that is always kind of a rough time. But I had some other family stuff pop up, and it was a lot. And so it's the holiday season. Today is December 14th, and that can bring out a lot of overwhelm anyway, just because everyone tends to be more emotional during this time of year. We have a lot of memories. A lot of us have lost people that we loved or had changes in relationship that mean so much to us. So, yeah, it can just be this really heavy time, even though, and I feel like maybe part of that is because we feel expected to be cheerful and excited and grateful, and it's supposed to be a holly jolly time of the year, but and maybe we just don't want to recognize those harder or negative feelings. I'm not sure. I know that's me. I tend to not want to confront them. I think a lot of other people would probably not guess that because I do like to talk about it. But I don't know. It's confusing. Anyhow, I tend to avoid my own negative feelings, but I really enjoy talking to other people and helping them navigate their own, if that makes sense. So this week I had a really close person to me that I love exhibit some not great behavior that put my kids at risk. And that was really hard. I was able to handle that situation in a really calm manner and to make it to where my kids didn't know the gravity of the situation. So I'm extremely thankful for that. But I have to be extremely conscious about recognizing that and everything that's going on and allowing myself to feel those feelings and really walk through them so I don't hold on to it. So that's kind of what led into my procrastination of not doing the podcast, because everything felt so heavy. And again, so that started my negative self-talk of like, who am I to do this when I can't even handle my own family stuff? Or who am I to do this when this knocks me off and then I'm no longer following through with my commitments? Or the million other things that I came up to really knock myself down and basically tell myself that I was unworthy, I wasn't worth it, I am not trustworthy, and none of that is helpful or beneficial. And I think the craziest part about it is the way that we got into that situation was me talking to this person that I love and talking about how I was so excited about how my children and this future generation isn't going to have to go through some of the painful things that we went through, and how it's been hard for me to set boundaries to make sure that they feel, or that they are protected from that. Like being very intentional about saying, this is a boundary and you will not cross it for their sake. And really expressing how that's not fun for me to do. I don't like having to be that person and having to set these boundaries and feeling, one, sometimes it alienates me from the people that I care about, because I do have some more strict boundaries than some of them. But then on the other side, there's other people that I really love who have way more strict boundaries, so then I feel like I'm too carefree. So I'm constantly judging myself of, am I being too hard or not hard enough, and all of this craziness. But within this conversation, it triggered something in them about those boundaries, and when they don't know how to deal with these hard emotions, or even if they're good emotions. It felt like they were really excited at first for some of this, and then it became triggering, so it became overwhelming for them. And this is not an excuse for behavior, but it is explaining their behavior. It became overwhelming for them, so they lashed out in an unsafe way, and it made it to where I had to really flip where I was going, what I was doing, and make sure that I maintain those boundaries. So I think it's Brene Brown's podcast where they really talk about, she was talking about boundaries and maintaining them. And I want to say, I know she said it was a philosopher. She was talking about some advice she had gotten right before she had her first child. And they were saying how, the bridges, those old wooden bridges, rope bridges where, they have those handrails and they're going over those really, 1,000-foot ledges, and stuff like that. Parenting is like those bridges, and parenting without boundaries is like that bridge without the rails. And that really hit me hard. So, that's where I was going with Brene Brown first. So on her podcast, that's where I heard that analogy, but she also asked the question on her Dare to Lead podcast, what's a lesson that the universe keeps putting in front of you to learn? And mine is, right now, the huge one is boundaries and how to maintain them, the importance of them, all of that. So it's just funny to me that we were in this conversation about boundaries. It caused them to lash out. Then I had to reinforce these boundaries to keep my children safe. And then I'm still learning how to deal with the fallout of really the emotions of when a boundary is violated, and not blaming myself, as well as being overcritical of the other person, and just realizing, okay, the boundary needs to be moved or adjusted, is anything along those lines. I would say the next day I felt extremely guilty, and that I put my children in extreme danger in a space where they could have been really traumatized, and it was really hard to get out of that space. So that was a lot. And so thankfully, the night that it happened, I was able to reach out to a friend who really helped me kind of walk through. And for me, I have a lot of faith in God. So we were able to walk through listening exercise to really calm down, listen, to hand over these things to God, and to make sure that I wasn't trying to hold on and become the healer, because that is not my job. But it is my job to let these things go and to work through my own feelings and to reassess what my needs are. So I'm extremely thankful for my friendship with Veronica Lamb and her mentorship, and she's helped coach me in so many different ways. So I was able to reach out to her and walk through these feelings, and that's extremely beneficial. My hope and prayer to anybody listening to this podcast is that you have a practice and or mentors, friends in place when you go through something like that, where you can reach out and lean onto those and not have to depend on your willpower alone, or you don't have to wing it, because that's what I had done previously, and it didn't work. But lately, being able to reach out to her or a few other trusted friends, it has made a world of a difference and allowed my turnaround to be not just faster, but still more healing and long lasting. And I'm able to really take in the lessons that I learn and to be kind to myself. I would say now I recognize my negative self-talk. Sorry, our neighbors the alarm's going off. I think you can hear it. So, yeah, it's another quote that Brene talks about. I think might be an Adam Grant quote, but I believe I will have to look this up and see if I can put it in the description. But it's that we don't rise to our I think it's that we don't rise to, I'm missing the word. Anyway, we fall to the systems that we have in place. So that's, again, another lesson that the universe keeps putting in front of me, is that I need to stop trying to will it through or wing it through, even though that's how I really have made it that far by doing this. It's not sustainable, and it's where a lot of my anxiety comes from. So I really need to focus on putting some actual systems in place, not just emotionally, like having my friends and my support systems to reach out to when I go through a difficult time, but to put systems in place for my daily activities. So overall, I'm just staying on track. So when I do have those big emotional things come, I, again, am able to have something that's kind of on autopilot or whatnot, to really help me make it through the harder times. I think I mentioned it on the first episode, but it was early last year, where I was actually diagnosed with ADHD, and that's been a whole other learning thing. And I'm sure you can kind of tell I did have notes for this, but like I said, when things happened with my family, I kind of switched gears and really thought that I really wanted to address what I was going through versus the other things that I had planned. But moving forward, I will have notes to go through because my ADHD can, like, that alarm went off and that sets my brain, like, it's so easy to get distracted. With it being Christmas season, I was going to go ahead and get myself some noise canceling headphones to help me with recording. But since that was on my Christmas list, I haven't bought them yet because I don't want to take away that if it's something that my fiance Richard had bought in for me. So, yeah, it's that's been a whole other thing that's been exciting to learn, but also completely overwhelming. And that is a huge thing that I've learned is a part of my ADHD. I get sensory overloaded really quickly, and then it's hard for me to focus on anything else. So whether it's the sounds, like what's been happening today when I record, so fingers crossed that soon I'm gonna have a room that's more guarded from noise, so it helps me stay focused, but also like feeling overwhelming feelings also tend to like kind of overtake everything in me. And so it's this learning of, okay, I can recognize that this is what is happening to me. How am I going to address it? What's in my toolbox to use? Is it wearing earplugs during a certain time of the day, which I have been doing. I also have these loop, they're still kind of earplugs that I've been meaning to purchase and try out, which is what, now that I'm thinking about it, I need to make a note and then order those after I get off of here. But really being super intentional about that and how to set it up in a way that's going to benefit myself. That way, like I said in this podcast, it's all about how can I show up for myself? What are the things that I need to do for myself that is going to allow me to show up as an all-around better person, which is going to allow me to be a better partner, a better daughter, a better sister, a better mother. Yeah, that is my biggest goal, aspiration, and what I've been trying to focus on every day when I wake up. And sometimes, I'm not going to lie, that is a really heavy way to be walking around the world. So I've also learned that part of that is coming from, I had a lot of responsibilities when I was younger. I felt the need to really take care of all of the people around me and their emotional well-being, as well as like just safety. So it's such a fun way of, I'm interested and I really want to learn and grow in this way, but also, how do I incorporate play into that? How do I not stay too serious and get stuck in the heaviness of everything going on and allow myself to find joy and to create and I hate the word, but yeah, balance, harmony. I don't think you're necessarily going to get balance in the way of time or, I don't know. Brendon Burchard says it best when he had done his research on high performers. They weren't going after balance in the way of, a lot of people are focused on, they want to have balance between work and home life, as in they want to have the same hours or whatnot. But for high performers, it was more quality. How are they showing up at their best selves to work, but also being able to serve their family well and to show up emotionally for their families, and really just serve and be the best versions of themselves? Are they getting adequate rest and just all of those things, and really focusing on quality rather than quantity. And that's super important and potent, and something that I struggle with, but gives me hope that I can reach towards those things. Coaching helped me with that. I don't think I ever would have actually went forward with doing the podcast had I not had that high performance coaching, and having someone there. My coach Wendy was absolutely amazing. She followed me on Instagram, and that was probably one of the most fun days, seeing that and like, oh, I think that's my coach. Like, oh, she found me on there, and that's exciting. And she clearly knew that my goal was to start this podcast, and she helped me work through and really come up with what this was going to be, what my audience, the goal for the people that I was reaching out to, and then my tagline of learning how to show up for ourselves so we can show up for our lives. Like, that was huge. And I wouldn't have gotten that had I not stepped out and got that coaching. So I highly recommend that. I think it's something, at least in my family and the people that I'm around, it feels like it's kind of a lost art. We talk about mentorship, or we talk about support systems, but I don't see it in such a depth of, are your people in your corner not just supporting you and cheering you on, but man, do they challenge you? Do they help you rise up to the best of you? Do they push you out of your comfort zone? Are they confronting you on things that, just things that you, not necessarily like, confront is a hard word, but it's the word that feels the most true to me. Are they keeping you accountable, I guess is what I'm saying. Are they really having these discussions within the group of, hey, man, how are you? You seem a little bit off, and not taking yeah, I'm fine. No, are you? I don't know. Like, not in a way that is, I don't know. Everybody has their different ways of really being able to be drawn out, but do you have those people in your life? And are you searching them out intentionally? I've learned for a long time in my life, I felt completely out of place and like there was something wrong with me because I have this intense need to have these conversations, and not everybody does. There are a million people out there or more that could care less to have this conversation. But for me, it's kind of part of my love language. Like, words of affirmation are my number one love language. But like, what is it? The one where the helping hand basically is the other one. And I really like that mentorship, the camaraderie, teamwork, of working through things together. Like, I want to get in deep, and I want to have hard discussions. And I also want to laugh and cry and dance. But I can't move forward to having that joy and that fun with people until I've been able to depend on them, if that makes sense. Brene Brown, I believe, is the one who said this, but it might have been something that came from her studies or another quote that she used. But joy is the most vulnerable human experience. Something along those lines. But it's really hard for people to experience and express joy, like full joy. We're really good at foreboding joy. Like, something really good happens and then we're like, oh, something's gonna happen now. Every time something good happens, something bad happens. What's it gonna be? And instead of experiencing and allowing ourselves to celebrate the joy of whatever's happening right now, we automatically hit that foreboding and the what's gonna happen next. So that's been my whole life, is kind of going in and out of feeling like I'm left out of these friendships because I didn't know how to connect with them. I didn't realize that my needs were to have this deep connection first, to allow me to trust the other person, to experience the joy. So a lot of my friends, I would say, for the most part, every friendship until about 22 was probably extremely surface level. And I loved them, and I know that my friends loved me, but it wasn't a super deep bond. I have one friend who I really hope to have on this podcast, Molly, who has been my friend since, we've known each other for a really long time, but been really good friends since probably like 2013, 2012. So at least 8 years. And so that was also really hard for me because you look around and you see some of these people who have friends from kindergarten on, or like, I don't know. I grew up in a small town, but I didn't move to that town until junior high. So a lot of these people already had these unbreakable bonds. I didn't have that. And I wanted it, but I didn't know how to create it. And I didn't have that at home. And my family, certainly, there were no clear guides of that. So it's been this huge learning curve of seeing what are my needs in a friendship, and in learning how to become a better friend. It really opened me up to have those deep friendships that I needed, and those friendships and that support helped me throughout the rest of my life. I would say when I moved to Hawaii in 2013, I believe, there was this huge shift. It was one, there's a quote, and I don't know who it's by, but it's growth happens when you get tired of your own bullshit. And that's what finally happened to me. I went through a breakup, and I didn't know who I was. And even that relationship wasn't great. I still have a lot of love for that person, and I hope he's doing well. And we definitely helped each other in the time that we were together. but we stayed together longer than we should have, just because we were growing in separate ways. But I had finally gotten so tired of all the things that I kept doing that were creating a lot of these issues. So when I got tired of that, and I was like, whatever, like, I'm going to take this big leap. I'm going to take this chance to go to Hawaii, to be with my family, and really open up to, I was willing to meet new people. And I like to tell it as I showed up. I showed up as my messiest self because I was so tired of trying to fit into the box and try to create these friendships that weren't working and weren't the depth that I needed. That I was like, I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna be who I am, and if you don't love me, then screw you. And I did that in every part of my life, not just with friendships, but in the church that I went to and everywhere else, because I didn't have any foundation in my life, and I was so fed up with how I had been living before. And there, living with my cousins and being in that church, and that's where I met Vern, and I was still really good friends with Molly, and she really helped me through that transition as we kept in touch virtually, which is hard with a time change. But it was this combination of being tired of my own crap, but being open to the people around me, that these people really loved me where I was at, and they didn't need me to be anything else. They, even when I was wrong, they loved me, but were still able to, they didn't say necessarily that my feelings were wrong, but they were able to help me reframe some of the things that I'd gone through that was so bitter about. They helped me reframe those situations and see them in a way that helped me grow. And that is huge. So that's what Veronica did with me through the issues that I had with my loved one. And that's what's helped me through this weekend. And even now, I just had a phone call and brought up some of those things, and I'm still able to kind of put those things down now and refocus a lot easier than I would have been before, because I have the support system in place. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. And I really, really, really hope that you all have the blessing and the determination to find what that is for you. Some people can have some of those deep connections with people that they meet online and people they play video games with. Some need to meet them in a church or some other place where they have something in common to bring them together. But no matter how you find them, I pray that you find them, and I hope with all of my heart that you become intentional about finding those people, and intentional about evaluating yourself, your own needs, and filling them. Like, don't feel guilty that, and I don't even want, you don't have to outgrow your whole circle. You don't have to leave everybody you know because you're growing. But don't close yourself off from new people and new opportunities because you're growing and you feel guilty for whatever reason. I know that I have experienced that so many times, and I get fearful that while I'm growing and I'm going to reach for new things, that I'm going to lose the things that I already have and love. And that is one, a valid fear, because that can happen, but it's also something that it doesn't have to happen like that. It's not an all or nothing thing. I'm really excited to do the podcast with my fiance Richard, because we have been doing this together. So I would say that we've both grown, but within the last 3 years, really, I think he would tell you, like, the 6 months with doing the coaching, my growth has been crazy in the way that I've become very vocal in my needs and what would be helpful and what I'm pursuing, and all of these different things, and challenging him in different ways as well. And it bleeds out to everywhere, because in that I also am more assertive at work and knowing what my boundaries are there and what I'm looking for and the support that I need, as well as within my family, obviously, working through that and making sure that I'm having the same expectations there. And I'm setting myself up in a way, because I have the support that helps me feel so secure, I'm able to move forward and, not demand, but really cultivate a place in all areas of my life. I'm cultivating a space where I feel safe and that I can show up as my full self, which, again, shout out to Brene Brown, because she is one of the people that I follow and I listen to for all of her work, which has been helping me come into who I am as well. So yeah, it's learning how to show up as my whole self, and to be able to do that, I know I have to feel safe, and now I know what it is that helps me feel that way. So it's extremely freeing and very hard at the same time to be working towards that. And I'm extremely thankful and grateful and excited to be on this journey and to be sharing it with you guys. And I hope that you can relate to some of this, and or that you see or feel hope that you can do it too, because man, this is something that is inside all of us, and we are all extremely capable of doing it. And more than that, we are all worthy of it. And I don't care if that means that I'm one of the people that you're leaving behind. If it were to come to that, do you. You are worthy of having the support that you need for you to show up for yourself, for you to be your best self, so that you can do the work that only you can do in this world and make a difference. Whether it's in your small part of the world or globally, your contributions matter and they make a difference. And I wish that for you in the deepest parts of my soul. So much love to all of you, and I look forward to seeing you next week, and fingers crossed I get these systems in place. Bye.